Dorsals, pinhead oats. Goes back to Grandma Lucy and Grandpa Dan when I was just a little baby in the 1930s. And I've had these every year for 84 years.
Well, you knew that's all we had to do was get you started.
Action.
Yeah, and part of the instructions. We brought two packages, Brady.
Okay.
And they're both 2 pounds of oats. And the recipe here on the back is for using 1 pound of oats, half of the bag. But because we've been cooking for years and years for a big gang of people, we've always cooked 1 whole bag, and which means you use the recipe over here, and you double everything. And so far we have doubled water. They call for 8 cups and I put in 16, and it calls for 3 teaspoons, which I think is equal to a tablespoon, so I put in 2 tablespoons of salt. And it calls for a pinch of salt, pepper, so I just shook pepper into my hand and just let it drop in there.
Okay.
And right now we've got the heat on, and the steam is beginning to come off of the pot. And when the pot starts boiling, that's when the oats go in, and we have to cook them for 2 hours, and has to be stirred every 15 minutes is the way I've been doing it. So we just keep,
not a half an hour,
track of time.
Every 15 minutes or half an hour?
Every 15 minutes, just stir them real good, and then you're still working on the next 20 minutes.
Okay.
So if we put these in at about 6:45, then we'll start doing it every 20 minutes, and so then 2 hours will be up at 9:15. Okay. And then we'll put in the meat.
How late do we have to stay up?
Pardon?
How late do we have to stay up?
For another hour.
Okay.
9:45.
Okay.
Well, then we stay up for another half hour to get it in the pan.
Okay. It's like the sleepover.
Yeah.
We'll put our
we're,
pajamas on.
then we're going out when Eric gets here.
We are?
Yeah, somewhere.
I thought we were going to have pizza here.
We are, but then after that, well,
Oh, yeah, right. He'll be ready for bed, I assume.
Yeah, I think so. If you want. So we're putting the big pot here that is now boiling up to temperature. We're moving it over to this one that's a little less, and we're turning this off of high and moving it down to see what's going to be the best. We'll put it on number 6 and see if that, but it'll take it a while to get from high down to that. But in the meantime, I will take the oats that we have here and I will pour them in.
so it's not boiling, it's just...
Right now,
Shelby.
no, I just will move them around in here and then start stirring, and
Dan, you want me to get the sausage out and ready to...
you got 2 hours.
Oh, I guess I don't need to.
Huh?
I guess I don't need to.
Do you do both bags at once?
No, just one bag is
There's 2 pounds in it.
is the big load.
Okay.
One bag is twice this recipe.
Oh, okay.
Twice that recipe.
Can you read it?
Get it all on here.
It's really little.
See how that's doing. And that steam will, of course, we'll lose some of that moisture, and the oats will absorb all that water, and it'll make just something a little stiffer than soup.
Okay.
Kind of like lobster bisque.
Is it boiling
Yeah,
still? I mean, you have to watch it because it's
I just wanted to make
rapidly
sure that
boiling. Let me
it's cooking,
see.
but we don't want it to boil over.
Yeah, what kind of boil are you looking for?
Okay. If it's
Oh, that's pretty good.
yeah, if it's boiling, right there.
And now you want
just
it
like that.
slower than that, though?
No.
You really want it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 is good.
Ready? We're taking
I don't want it on
top
tape.
pot
Yeah,
off,
it can
and
be
it's
nice.
doing very well in the boiling, but it's time to mix it up. And this is the first one after 20 minutes, and it's beginning to get a little mushy in there. I'll put my glove on.
So it's thickening,
On the
getting
bottom,
thicker.
it's yeah, it tends to stick right down on the bottom where it's really hot. And so, in the stirring, you want to get that stuff off of the bottom. And when we get to the end of all this, I even leave the oats in there without heat and let the moisture from the oats kind of eat away at that crusty thing that develops down there. And we eventually stir most of that into the oats.
So you don't waste anything.
We don't waste anything, right? Ouch. One of those bubbles popped right up on my finger.
Yeah, why don't you put a glove on that hand, Phil? That hot steam, even.
See, I've almost got the bottom clean just from going back and forth on it. When you're all done, when
Did
you're
you
all
turn
done,
it down a little, honey?
What?
Did you turn it down to 2 or 1?
It was on
3.
It's been on 3, so it's on 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That looks like Old Faithful. All those little...
It's a Goetta geyser.
No, I won't get a geyser, but there are some pools that look exactly like that.
Okay, so we'll check in 20 minutes.
We're checking in 20... Ready, we're taking
I don't want it on tape.
top
Yeah,
pot
it
off,
can be
and
nice.
it's doing very well in the boiling, but it's time to mix it up. And this is the first one after 20 minutes, and it's beginning to get a little mushy in there. I'll put my glove on.
So it's thickening,
On the
getting
bottom,
thicker.
it's yeah, it tends to stick right down on the bottom where it's really hot. And so, in the stirring, you want to get that stuff off of the bottom. And when we get to the end of all this, I even leave the oats in there without heat and let the moisture from the oats kind of eat away at that crusty thing that develops down there, and we eventually stir most of that into the oats.
So you don't waste anything.
We don't waste anything, right? Ouch. One of those bubbles popped right up on my finger.
Yeah, why don't you put a glove on that hand too? That hot steam, even.
See, I've almost got the bottom clean, just from going back and forth on it. Which you're all done when
Did
you're
you
all
turn
done?
it down a little, honey?
What?
Did you turn it down to 2 or 1?
It was on
3.
It's been on 3, so it's on 2 now. Okay. That looks like Old Faithful. All those little...
It's a Goetta geyser.
No, I won't get a geyser, but there are some pools that look exactly like that.
Okay, so we'll check in 20 minutes.
I'm checking 20, 25.
Can we just wait?
Well, Hoppagrits came from our German family, starting with Grandpa Dan and his wife Lucy, my grandma. And they had 3 boys. My dad was the oldest, Ray. His 2 younger brothers, Howard and Bill. And all 3 of them had wives, and they all learned to cook Hoppagrits for their families because they were pretty popular. And at first we were just having it whenever we went down to my grandmother's on a weekend or something. She would have us for breakfast, and we'd get Hoppagrits and eggs.
Where was this?
That was in Southgate, Kentucky, which maybe you've seen my grandparents' house in
Yes,
Southgate.
I guess I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was Southgate.
I'm pretty sure you did. Now, we only lived 10 minutes from them, but we were in Fort Thomas on Highland Avenue. You've been there, haven't you, Brady?
Mm-hmm.
Driven by it. Yeah. But my mother, she finally caught on to making them, and so my dad loved them too. So every once in a while, during the winter time, because it's really a dinner that, or a meal that is best suited for cold weather when something warming needs to be had. And so that time was just with my sister. I don't think she liked them as well as I did and my dad did. And my mother probably didn't eat as many as we did, but she knew we liked them, so she made them often enough to keep us happy. And so now, when you young guys started growing up and got to be, what, 9 or 10, and we're coming up to the house for Thanksgiving and Christmas and different times, we just started making the kind of batch we're making tonight, which is a full container of oats, good old Dottie Dorsal pinhead oats, and Earl and I started cooking those and serving those for at least one breakfast while everybody would be around and have at least 10 or 12 people to eat them. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody, it's degrees. I think Abby and Alyssa count up with the boys in liking them. I don't know
about
if
Abby anymore.
Yeah, even
Alyssa
Michelle said
does.
today. I forgot to
Oh,
tell
she
you when Michelle talked for a little while. I told her that we were going to probably make enough that we'd bring some home, and she said, "Oh, that's good. I love Hoppagrits." So I said, "Well, we'll make sure that we get down with you and have them." She said, "Well, the girls like them too."
What about?
But I said the girls have to be ready when we are.
Monty has
and
love them.
if they want to get them.
Michael, Maddie, and Shane.
Yeah, they love. I don't know about Shane. Yeah, he was eating Hoppagrits last year. Yeah, he's come around.
The BBs.
I think they like them a little bit. I don't think BBs are as crazy about them as the others.
No.
And they're the ones that live in the area.
Yeah,
Yes.
in Cincinnati where they're
But
very popular.
Peggy has raised them on healthy, and Hoppagrits are not too healthy if you're not a farmhand. Going out to eat and need something to keep you from being hungry until lunchtime.
Well, Hoppagrits are a lot like what you get in Pennsylvania Dutch Company. Country. What is that called? Scrapple. Only Scrapple is made out of corn and pork. I don't think there's any beef in it. But this is a different arm of the German families that came over that liked the Hoppagrits. And I think truly it was a farm dish that especially was liked by the people on the farm. They had the beef right on hand, and they had the pork, and they used the best parts for other kinds of dinners, but they would use not throwaway kind of meat, but they would use the part that you couldn't cut into nice slices, and that's what they used for making the Hoppagrits, rather than buying a round of beef and getting it all lean and everything. How's it looking, Brady?
Looking good.
Time to
Maybe
stir
better
again?
stir.
Yeah, time
That
for
we
a
should
stir.
let him stir so he can tell you. There's no flavor to it. I don't know. They're just crisp like this.
Bubble, bubble. What was that they used?
Oil and trouble.
Yeah. The witch's brew. So now we're going to give them another good stir to get all that's on the bottom moved in with the stuff on top. And what used to be water is now a creamy oat sauce. That's all oats that have been broken down and
They sticking?
Yeah, very sticky.
I think she means on the bottom.
I mean to the bottom of the pan.
Yeah,
They're hard to
down
get
there.
on.
You can feel them.
I'm going to go with Lindsay, Dan.
Okay.
Brady,
Yeah.
they're really wet and average, so he doesn't need to put on the table.
Okay.
Just put up on high level. Yeah. You would never do that, would you? Going down and say, oh. No, that's the eye.
Are they burning it all?
No. Well, down at the bottom they might be a little bit.
Is it too hot?
Right where the heat is. Well, we've got to have about the amount of boil that we have to move the liquid through the oats. And I said before, I leave this mushy oats in the pan when we get done, when it's off the heat, and that softens that on the bottom. But what we're getting on the bottom now looks a little bit like the finished Hoppagrits when you fry them. Get a brown. And the funny thing is, Michelle, she would like to come in the kitchen when I was cooking, and she preferred, I think, it went after I had the meat in to cook. But she'd come out and take a spoon and just take a bite of the Hoppagrit material as it was cooking. She didn't need it to be fried to enjoy just a little taste of it.
I can remember my mom eating them like that too.
Okay?
There you are.
Well, when we get done with that 2 hours of cooking, we'll transfer half of this into the other pot. And we'll put half of the beef and half of the sausage in this one and half in the other. And then mix that meat up in both of them. So they'll be pretty equal in content of oats and meat. And that comes along after that 2 hour period.
Okay. So what do we do now? Wait another 20 minutes?
We just have another 20 minutes till
How to make Hoppagrits.
Well, at this point, they know more about how to make Hoppagrits than I do if they've watched this video already. I just got here.
Eric just likes to eat them.
Yep.
Were they burning, Grandpa?
Nope. Well, I can't tell you what they look like right down in the
Well, if
bottom.
you smell a smell that smells like burning,
But I
don't worry too much, apparently. So, let's see what they look like this time.
I mean, I trust you. You got years and years on me on it. It's probably just like steam kind of rolling down the side or something.
There's not really any or much liquid left.
Nope.
Those oats absorb it all, huh?
I'm trying to keep it in pretty much.
Have you ever done it in a crock pot before, Grandpa?
No, but there's a recipe on there to do it with a slow cooker, so Nana wants to try it sometime. We have 15-20 minutes to go after this.
I couldn't talk.
We're on the home stretch now.
On my table.
On the first
That's it.
batch. You know, that's cooking the oats.
Sometimes he gets
Then we
angry
have
when
another
he
hour
likes
for the
to
meat.
He knows. Like,
And that's really coming down the home
That's
stretch.
right. But when you're not here, he's going to do what he wants to do. I think it's just part of the way they're
He got
made.
a bear one.
Yeah, have you seen the people that build like cat rails all over?
Yeah.
Really?
Because cats love, I mean, they build shelves all over and get like,
Being
yeah.
hung. Yeah, he got up there one. I don't even know how to
Okay. The meat portion. So we've got 2 pans.
He loves this.
And what I'm going to do is move half of this over to this pan. And then we will divide the meat. And let's see, what did I do with that?
In the cooler.
Oh,
Right
yeah,
here.
yeah, it's in the cool. Oh, right here.
He was going to the refrigerator. That's how old he
No,
is.
I knew it had to be someplace out, but
Oh, you didn't even hear me. I was making a joke.
So the meat, Brady.
She says to watch Grandpa. That he's showing you something.
That's Emmy. She whines like a person.
It's not an attractive trait.
Oh my goodness.
What kind of ground beef is this?
This is sausage. This
Oh.
is breakfast sausage.
Yummy.
Savory sage flavor.
You want me to help with that?
And,
Why don't you cut it down and make a seam? Cut it.
well, I was just taking the thing out, and I'm going to do like they do when they put icing on a cake or cookies. Just squeeze it right out of this container.
I figured you guys would hear this recipe and go,
That's one.
I'm not making that. I'll go to Cincinnati and buy them.
Will they be the same?
No, they wouldn't be the
You
same.
can't do
I'm sure they find a cheaper way to make them.
less.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You don't think? Restaurants?
No, I think Cincinnatians, if they're going to buy it in a restaurant, they're going to expect it to be like homemade.
But don't you think everybody might have had a little different recipe?
I remember buying it one time
We used
at
to go-
Perkins,
Perkins,
and
that's
it
right.
wasn't. I didn't think it was as good.
No, I don't think so either.
Dog and cat are sniffing each other.
What are they doing?
Just sniffing each other.
So do you wear scrubs all the time now?
Pretty much.
It's just your go-to outfit.
You're so comfortable.
It used to be you only saw medical people in scrubs, but now you never know when you see somebody because everybody wears them. You can buy them anywhere.
Yeah.
People wear them all the time, so you
What are you looking for?
The garbage is in-
Over here.
Even worse in the hospital. No way. They are comfy.
Ah,
Even on the days last week that I was taking that class, I guess I didn't need to wear my scrubs.
that's the two sausages. We use
No,
savory
it was easy.
But
sage,
I had time to change
and
out
we
of them,
use
but I was like, then I
hot.
have to, like,
Jimmy Dean hot.
They're pretty comfortable.
And we take half of each of these and put one half in one pot and one half in the other
It's
pot.
really nice. I mean, I love wearing
And then we have the
dental school too.
beef,
Wearing scrubs.
regular
When they sell it in the hospital,
hamburger
and
meat.
we go up back.
Do you know what the percentage is?
This one was 80, I think.
Remember when it used to be you were in the
80,
hospital and
20.
nurses looked so professional,
80.
they looked so
Looks like there's a little juice in there.
now,
Now they got Ebola and stuff.
Yeah.
no, it's just their hair is funny, you know, and they got it all gelled, and then they have their uniforms aren't really white anymore. They sort of just came out of the dryer and they put them on, so they're wrinkled. God, nobody ever showed up to work in a wrinkled uniform.
Well, our scrubs come in a machine that has like a little cubby hole for it, so it's all just like folded and.
I've been in the OR and seen scrubs. I mean, they must take those things and just throw them in there with them. Oh my Lord, you pull out a pair of scrubs in the OR and they're the worst looking things you ever saw. They're so wrinkled. But that's
Paper towel.
how everybody wears them. That's okay in the OR, but when you're dealing with
These
patients
short
and
ones? Yeah.
people, I think, family, I think you should look more professional.
At the dental school, you could wear scrubs when I worked out at the front desk. And then when I went back to billing, I couldn't wear them anymore.
Oh,
It
you
was
hated
very
it?
sad because I actually
You're right, you have to go out and buy clothes
didn't
compared
think
to.
about what I was going to wear. And then they changed it where the people out front could decide if they wore scrubs or not. And I'm like, who in their right mind would wear scrubs if they could? So
Okay, we got our beef
think about
cut,
These nurses weren't in scrubs though, they
See
were
that?
in uniforms.
2
Like the old
pieces.
school ones.
No,
And we're going to
pants,
stir up the oats
top of some sort,
and
and
turn the heat down for a minute.
different colors. I mean, I don't think they have any
So this is the last stir.
rules for it.
Yeah, this is the last stir.
I mean, I might have some kind of protocol that, you know, they can't be low cost or
Yeah.
something like that, but other than that,
Put on the gloves.
you're not getting no one. Oh, God, I did catch him. I lost him.
Good job.
I don't know, I think maybe you got him on.
Do you want something else to
So you're taking half of that and putting it in the other pot?
Mhm.
That's because you've done 2 batches?
Right.
Close, but then
Well, there's really one batch to me.
Okay.
It's just that it's double the recipe that's on the package.
do you like half coffee, half like hot chocolate?
And
That's coffee
this
flavored
pot's
chocolate.
not as big around as this pot. So when to even it out, this one's going to be a little higher than this one. And then we'll have a
I can truly say this is the most fun I've had walking
equal amount of
in all 35 years.
oats with equal amount of meat. Okay. I'm going to put this second burner on. And this is the first sage sausage.
Hey Jason.
Half of it goes.
What's up?
And this one. And half goes in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can text it to you. Do you know what's up with rounds tomorrow? We haven't gotten a text yet. I know, but I just, you know, there's always that like small % chance that we could all be asked to come in, you know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll text you Ross's number.
Gotta get every bit, huh?
What about him?
It's just like emptying the toothpaste tube. And this is the Jimmy Dean hot.
Okay.
And we'll put half of that in each. First half comes out easier than the second half.
Can you see the dentures in the pan?
And before I put the beef in, I'm going to try to break up the sausage in each one and start getting it mixed in with the oats.
Oh, yeah, that would be hard the way you put it in.
Pardon?
Does it come apart easily?
Well, because they thought she had multiple.
I used to have one of those.
Huh.
Are we do the other one?
Oh no, he's not creating anything new.
Let's see here. Okay.
Let me do this one?
Yeah, there, you can get by my
Huh?
Maybe.
Did Ross see her yet? He made it seem like, I think he was starting to realize that it wasn't a answer.
What are you doing, Em?
Like what they do. He was basically like they all of the pictures that come off that they leave about it's just kind of snitch.
Phew-wee.
Yeah, I'll text you.
Getting hot over there?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, have a good
Well, the window, oh, lights up this window then.
Some arm strength.
Yeah.
Can we clear these dishes and put them in the dishwasher?
Let's just put them in the sink and I'll get everything in there tonight. Can we see what it looks like?
Yep. Just looks like it did before, but pink.
Let me see too.
Okay.
Don't think I've ever looked.
Doesn't look very appetizing at this stage.
I'll say. It looks like a lot of work too. Just think, if you did the slow cooker method, we'd have to do that way.
Excuse me, doggy. I want to conk you in the head with a half of a...
Ham.
Okay. Custard for the gravy.
Anyway, Eric, Michelle has to go 8 to 10 weeks. He told her to call to tell her employer that she would not be able to go back.
Oh, okay,
8
so
to
that's
10
good
weeks.
for Thanksgiving for her then. She seemed worried about that.
Well, she wanted to have it, but we
Yeah.
haven't talked about it, so I don't know. We'll see what
Well,
happens.
she was worried that the 8 weeks would be right for Thanksgiving. I was like, Michelle, there's so many other things to worry about.
And I don't know, when you have to hop along like that, I don't think you should be able to fight with it.
Use that for potatoes.
Right, the one that
Yeah.
she counter offered, did they offer, didn't that kind of stuff.
But you can use it.
Seems to
Okay.
Okay. Well, where we were last night, we put the concoction that we boiled for a total of 3 hours with the oats first for 2 and the final 1 hour with the beef and the sausage, and that was in the fridge all night in this pan. And we've got our total of two bags full in this. So we're going to now cut this into, I think it comes to a total of 12, 6 on this side, 6 on this side. And we're going to wrap most of them up in freezer paper. And the freezer paper, we do that pretty tightly so that it doesn't get air inside and anything. So we'll get those out of the way first, and then we'll save, I think, what the equivalent of 3 of these, what do you want to call them, little packages of Goetta Hoppagrits.
Why do we call them Hoppagrits and nobody else seems to call them Hoppagrits?
Yeah, the restaurants and everybody refer to it by the, I guess, the official German name, Goetta, and for all I know that might describe oats and meat put together to make this. And I don't know if we caught it yesterday when we were boiling the oats and everything, but this is similar to what you get in Pennsylvania Dutch country, and I'm always forgetting what the name of that is, but it's made out of corn instead of oats, and pork. And it's, when you drive through Pennsylvania Dutch country, restaurants will be serving that instead of Goetta. So it must have been maybe two areas of Germany, or German and other European, that the when Roseanne comes out, we can get her input on what that is called in Pennsylvania Dutch country, because I
think you might have said it yesterday. I can't remember.
You remember what I said?
No.
What I called that?
Do you know where in Germany
No,
we're coming from?
Well, no, you, I think, looked into that, and I don't think ever got very far with that on the family tree. We do know that as far as our family goes, I have pictures of my great-grandfather and mother who were in Cincinnati. They did not immigrate here. It was his father and mother and my great-grandmother's mother and father, I think, that immigrated here. And we really haven't found out where they immigrated from. But they ended up in Cincinnati in the Over the Rhine district. And one of the stories is that one census, my grandmother was at home, and she felt really great to tell the story that my grandfather, when he came home from the laundry, she told him that he was the census person was there, and she told him about your father being from the Over the Rhine district in Germany, but he was actually born and raised and lived in the Over the Rhine district in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, no.
Oh wow, that really does stay together nicely.
Yep. So that's one of the 12. I think maybe I was a little off center, and it looks like this one's a little wider than that one.
It said online that this was like the Cincinnati German version of Scrapple.
Scrapple.
That's the corn one.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Scrapple. Yep.
Did you find anything else out, Eric?
It's used to just like when you make like stuffed peppers and stuff like that. It's meant to like extend the amount of beef and pork you have for families that didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
It speaks to our humble roots.
I don't know about those original people going to the store to get things, because most of them were farmers, so they had the pork, the beef, pork and the beef, and maybe even the oats on their farm, and they just used those rather than having to go to the store to get them.
That's the other thing I found, was that it was primarily made at home until after the war, and then Robert Glear came back, Glear, and really made it a something you could buy at the grocery store. You know, get a tube of Glears.
That is interesting, because growing up, I had two uncles in the Ziegler family, Uncle Bill and Uncle Howard, and they, with my dad Ray and Dan, his father, or their father, all worked at the Ziegler Towel and Linen Supply in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the Over the Rhine district. And my uncle Howard was married to Dorothy, and she's one of the daughters-in-laws that probably had to learn how to do this for Uncle Bill and Uncle Howard and their kids. And my Uncle Howard, unfortunately, was the youngest. He wasn't the youngest, he was the middle boy, but he was the first of the three boys to die, Uncle Howard. And he died, I think, of stomach cancer.
Oh, yes.
And after a number of years of being a widow, Aunt Dorothy married a Glear.
Okay.
That operated the store that made the Goetta. And that, I think my mother, after we were not living there, she never made another batch of Hoppagrits. She went down to Glear's to buy it. So I didn't know that was online.
Yeah.
I know Patty had looked it up once just to get a little reading on it.
Some lady did a blog post about it when she moved to Cincinnati for a year.
Oh.
Her goal was to eat, drink as much Cincinnati type stuff as possible in that year.
Darn. That's pretty good. Here's a piece as a sample of the woods.
Okay.
Now sometimes what I did is just take this out
And then cut it.
And well, you can do it very neatly here. Put a little crease right about there.
Okay.
And do it this way. Do it backwards like that. And you get all this lined up right here on the side, just that. Yeah. Now you've got it that way, and then you can just take the scissors and oops, gotta hold that down a little further. take that. Make sure we get the shiny side up.
Shiny
Are you
side
back
up.
in business now?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. So, when we first came out, I cut off one length of paper and just discovered when I put the Goetta on it that we only need a half of what I had cut off for wrapping each of the cakes here. So we put that in there.
So just to clarify, you don't really know where Hoppagrits came from, the name.
I
You
do not
explained
know
Goetta.
if that was a family thing or if Goetta, the official Goetta, just was known by everybody that was eating it. It was called Hoppagrits, and it probably got that name from the cooking of it, where the oats. Yep, we need a long piece there. Yep, that's good. And we put this on so that it's holding the paper around it, and then we just like wrapping a Christmas present. Get that one, on that end, and on this end, the same, and then
Do you want a big long one?
no,
Or just
on this one we need short pieces, and you want to get the paper right along, right up the middle with the tape, and that closes it in and makes it airtight. And we need, yep, 4, or that probably isn't quite long enough. I think we need a little bit more to get all the way down there.
Oh, okay. That's what you're trying to do.
Just so that it goes from, here, about that much on the top, and down here.
So is it because when you cook the
The
little oats hop or something in the pan?
it kind of sounds like it when the oats are really cooked enough. The full 2 hours. I know some people, including Aunt Wendy, maybe, and I think my mother, possibly, weren't patient enough to do that for 2 hours.
2 hours on the griddle or 2 hours in the
2 hours
pot?
in the pot, the oats.
Okay.
They're pre-cooked like that. I mean, you really get them mushy.
Yeah.
If you don't get them mushy,
They won't pop.
then they will pop.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like putting popcorn in a hot oven, and they begin to pop. So you've got popcorn. That's a personal guess that I don't have any factual
Sounds like a
information
good guess.
about.
So it's a family name.
It could be.
We'll just take it over. We'll say it's a family name.
Yeah. What we can do is, if we want to start getting ready to eat some, we can use the brand new griddle, and
We can practice packaging them up too. If you'd
yeah,
like.
we'll do the, while they're cooking, we can
Make sure we've got the skill.
right.
Okay, we'll get the griddle out and check in a minute.
Got the new griddle, brand new one, and as I was telling them, our griddle that we've been using for years and years wasn't quite as long, but it was a little, and it was a little wider, so I put the Hoppagrits on this way in the long length, but on this one we're going to put the length this way, and I think we can get 3 across and maybe 4 down here, so we'll have 12 still to do that. So the first thing we do on the griddle is we spray. I think over the years I've found that the meat has supplied a little bit of the oil for cooking, and I've never had them stick to anything. Of course, we're using non-stick devices here, so I don't know, Brady, you might have to change your thing to get this in the picture. But in slicing it, we use a metal blade of spatula, and we just start coming down, and I think that I would say that's close to 3/8, between 1/4 and 3/8 of an inch. And it's best to hold your hand up against the one you're cutting off, just so that it doesn't become 2 pieces instead of 1. And so you have 1 slice like that, and it's only up to 222. That won't hurt anything. You just put it on.
Can you turn this way so I can? Yeah.
Is that better? If you've got a caliper, you probably find that there's always a degree of difference between the size of the different slices. But this one's slicing very nicely. Ah, there's some sizzle. Just have to work that spatula down through, and you can feel how all that oats and meat's all stuck together very nicely, and they can make nice slices. So when we were talking about Glear being mentioned on that thing from the online, Bill Glear from Fort Thomas, we'll give him credit for that. I think maybe he was originally from Newport, Kentucky, his family, but he had then moved his family to Fort Thomas, which is my old hometown, on the heights above the Ohio River. And this is what you would be buying, just those, something like this. If you went to Bill Glear's meat shop, that's what you would buy. I don't know if he had it sliced exactly like this, but I think they were probably using the pan just like I did to form it. I never saw that in their shop. But I think when my grandmother made it, when my mother made it, they only made the recipe that's on the bag, which was a half a bag of oats and 1 pound of beef and 1 pound of pork. But with our family having all the kids, and Gary hasn't been around, so we didn't have Gary and his 4 kids taking part in our get-togethers at Christmas and Thanksgiving time over the last, since 1980, around there. When were you born, Brady?
84.
1984. Well, before you came along, I'm sure your mom, Wendy, and Eric's dad, Daniel, and all your dad. I think your dad, Brad Christopher, never really caught on to eating Hoppagrits.
No, he's not a fan.
He's not a fan of.
I just talked to him, invited him down. He said he doesn't drive anywhere for Hoppagrits.
Not like the pancakes at Ohio.
Buckwheats are a different thing.
Yeah. Well, when I cut this up in the pan, I was using my marks for cutting across and up the middle, and I did get it off a little bit on the center. Some of these are longer than the other side, and so these also, in cutting them sideways, isn't perfect so that every one of them is the same thickness. So on some we may get 5 thicker slices than you might on another one that was a little
difficult when you get down to that piece there.
Narrow. Yeah, when you're cutting and you're getting down to the last 2, that's when pushing in with your hand up against the one you're cutting off comes in and is important, because they could crumble. But the nice thing is, if you run into a batch that isn't this nice and firm, when you're cooking it on the griddle, it's like a doctor healing this wounded piece of Goetta, and you can smush it together, and it's very forgiving. And when this cooks and gets a nice brown crust on both sides, then it's all one piece again, if it is a problem spot. So we'll do one of these. This is a corner piece right here, and they're different than all the others because you've got this curve here and the slope around these 2 sides, and so that one is a little trickier when you get down to the last piece, because the last piece is going to have this slope to it. So now we can get out the other griddle too and put that on the stove, and we can do, it looks like it's going to be, we can make short ones here, you know, cut them in half. They're just as tasty that way. In fact,
whatever you want.
In fact, Nana Rowe always tried in those early years when we were all a family to cut them into slices that were half this big. They cut them here, and I always thought that this was a better cut, because doing it the other way, you're having to fuss with turning over twice as many.
How long are they going to be on the griddle?
Until they are nicely browned on both sides.
How long does that normally take around?
It could take a half hour, but this is a griddle that I haven't worked with before, so that's anybody's guess that precisely how long it takes to cook. The griddle that Nana Rowe and I used for 35 years, I can't say 35 years because we didn't get it right when we were married in '79. It was several years down the way, but The funny thing is, we, of course, had the sailboat and our tent, and on most of our anniversaries, which occur on August the 3rd every year, we were always out sailing and camping. And so one year, Nana decided to give us an anniversary gift. And so the anniversary gift was the griddle, the electric griddle. And we're down to that odd piece, and at this point, in this case, it looks like we're going to have an extra thick one, I think, rather than making two slices out of that piece. It's a little thicker than all the rest, and we'll have to cook maybe a little bit longer to get hot. Of course, it'll brown up in the same length of time.
That'll be one of those good ones with crispy outsides and gooey inside.
Good hot. So maybe at this point we should go ahead and start getting the other griddle
that one for you.
On
the other griddle.
We'll get the other griddle going on the stove, and we can cook up another 5 or 6, another whole piece of the Goetta on this little griddle.
How many do we have on?
Right now we've got 4, we've got 12, 13 and a half on this one. And on the other griddle I was getting 6 across and 2 down, so that was, we were getting 12. So we're doing just as well.
Alright, that one's...
Okay, we're back to cooking, and we put the other griddle on the stove for the next 5 or 6 pieces. And I'm just going to try one here, which is the first one I put on, and see how it's doing. And because this is one of the new surfaces, and so was our griddle, you don't want to use steel on it, but I use it as a helper to get the pieces on. This is not like they tell you to cook hamburgers, where you cook it on one side and then cook it on the other. I think that's the way you're supposed to cook hamburgers. Get it all done on one side and then turn it over. But on this, we can turn them over at different periods 2 or 3 times before we're totally done. But we can even turn this up a minute. We wanted to try it at 350 and see how that was. We'll turn it up to 375. We'll turn it up a little bit each time.
What is it?
I can see one thing, that this narrow griddle, a little harder to get them, but they're getting a little brown, and they are firming up on that side so that they'll be easier to flip from one side to the other. It's a little easier as you go. Okay, that's working out good. We do have a spatula at home that's a long, narrow one, and probably I should have brought that, because that would really be easier. Here's one of the wounds, or a little piece.
Grandpa, do any of those?
Nope, there's no difference there. So that, I think we'll just stick with this.
Okay.
But I was talking about the wounded piece, where
Let's see it. What one?
this one right here. where you see where I'm pointing?
Yep.
Okay. When I flipped it, a little corner came off down here, and I think this little piece probably came from that one. But all you do is just mash that into the thing, and as it cooks, that little separation, it'll disappear and it'll be part of the whole thing.
Oh.
These ones don't seem to be as sizzled on the one side.
Yeah, might have
Do we wait longer to?
Yeah, I think maybe we will do that. But it's good for demonstrating
How to repair them.
the doctoring that has to go on as you're cooking them.
Eric should be practicing on this.
Yeah, right. So let the doctor do that. And in this, maybe Eric ought to come around this side and have the video running, and we'll introduce Eric, and then we can introduce Brady. We'll let it cook just a little bit more to get that side.
We've been on the video several times already.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll hold off on turning them over, and we'll go with the 375.
Okay.
Okay. And I could probably go with a cup of coffee.
Okay.
We can do that by putting them on top, but
They don't look as good as Grandpa's, the one we did.
Okay.
we may need one layer for the leftovers after we have the first serving.
Well, Grandpa, I think this has been closer to 45 minutes or an hour than a half an hour of cooking.
Well, I hope you marked the time we started. One thing that's been testing, we didn't know how fast this thing would cook them, and so we started at a lower heat, and now have it up by 75 or 50 degrees from where we started.
We're on 400.
So we're on 400, and so if you start them on 400 and go all the way at that, then they'll probably be done a little faster.
How's the other batch doing?
Good, I just turned those.
You must have cooked them all right in the pot last night. We've only seen one pop,
Yeah.
or one hop.
Hop, hop. Anybody could do this. This is not.
You don't do
Sound
your
rocket
eggs a
science?
I don't
special
know.
way?
I think it's an art, making a good Friday. I do, because you got to get the white cooked, have the yellow not so cooked, and you do great on Friday.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin
Well,
this.
I'll tell you where
I shouldn't have done
what
that.
I do
Said
for
that, though.
eggs, that comes from Aunt Mary Lou, who is Jeannie's sister, who used to live in Washington State.
Okay.
And when we visited the West Coast, one time the kids were all young. I think maybe that was on either, well, maybe it was only Wendy that was with us at that time. And we were on our way to Guam. It could have been that, or it could have been our first visit home, which was in 1958 when we came home from Guam the first time. It was in November or October. Yeah, it was just Halloween time in November when we came home. But at that time she wasn't in Washington. She was in Oregon, right in where you could see Mount Hood from her kitchen sink.
Oh, nice.
So when you
it's beautiful out there.
We're standing at the sink washing dishes, you were looking out at that splendid view of
nice.
Of the mountain snowcap. And so she did her eggs by opening them and putting them on the griddle and then pulling the white in toward the center, and then that's the way, instead of letting it go out and get thin skirts, she kept it together. And tried to keep the white thicker. Okay, so we're going to start. This is the first time we've used this griddle on eggs, and we're using 300 degrees, which Ro and Lindsay looked up to see what was the best temperature for eggs.
Wow.
1.
Very nice.
Yeah. Didn't break the 2.
What is it back here? Vermont Road.
All right.
It's a very tight
And for 20 years, we called those Aunt Mary Lou's eggs. From Portland, Oregon. At the foot of, not really the foot of, we were some distance away from the mountain.
Since I came down, she must be taking a nap and we kept them up late last night. Oh, I love these things.
We went 10 eggs for 5 of us, and I thought it would be definitely better to cook them 5 at a time rather than trying to tend 10 of them.
Yeah.
Want me to
So-
heat up a little bit?
Huh?
Want me to heat the butter up a
No,
little
no, it's cold.
bit? Okay.
Now for
the eggs, the big one's probably the best
I
one,
could
right?
use Lindsay's utensils to make them pure Mary Lou eggs. We'll try to pull in the whites and get them thicker. I don't know that I always did that.
So I'm stopping it.
In our Pittsburgh get-togethers, trying to do that for 15 or 20 people was a little bit much. And they seem to fold up better if you, when you push them up like this, to actually
to get me to get rid of it.
also
You don't
try
like
to
I just want to
split that a little bit
Yeah.
table.
so it bends
Yeah, I
over and
understand.
stays there.
see she gets it.
But it's still an amazing taste.
I didn't say it wasn't. I just am ready for it.
So
Well,
there's more
yeah, I think probably
scapies.
looks and even people you serve, I think probably a bigger table is best, but I wouldn't get rid
We
of it.
can't fit a bigger table right now.
Well, you
Yeah,
can
we
fit a
could.
table that's like round and goes clear to there.
Like the way she thinks.
That's,
Like I don't think.
Well, I'll be at the
why
next
do men
house.
never believe us when we're
The next house.
I wouldn't get rid of it though.
You got some cars to sell before you get the next house.
Then you can keep it in the living room. and
Yeah,
open it
listen
up.
to your cousin.
So after about 6 hours cooking,
Yeah.
we are ready to eat. We have our eggs,
Yes.
our Hoppagrits all
Oh,
made.
slice of bread, Jeff.
Each person can pick their Hoppagrit. There's some here that has a little burn to it, and
Extra flavor, we like to say.
take 2 or 3, whatever you're going to eat. And, I'm going to tend to the eggs.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So that's the first one. So
Okay.
Lindsay, why don't you go first?
Thank you.
Okay.
Bread will be coming, Lindsay. Uh-oh.
And the second one
I
would
need
be
the placement.
Lindsay or
I mean, no.
Eric
Go ahead, Eric.
or Brady.
Yep.
Oh, the cutting board.
And if anybody wants, ooh, I need the
I
egg.
know, I'm not
Oh.
going anywhere.
I thought you were getting everything neat.
I need this to cut the bread.
Uh-huh.
Christopher eggs. You get these delivered especially for you guys.
Is that what it says, Christopher? Ah, you have to
Where?
get that.
Huh.
You have to take that and
Did you
say,
know that, Lindsay?
Lindsay,
Did not know.
Lindsay went to our home plant.
Christopher, all natural eggs, so that they must
We
have.
might have to cook just all 12. We can't just leave 2 eggs in this container, right?
Well, I was just getting
He's
ready.
going to, he has another dozen done.
I was going to
Where's
say
the bread?
that anybody that
Something
wants
just
another egg, I'm
Eric wants them.
2 eggs. You need 3.
Yeah, if you have 3 Hoppagrits or more, you certainly want more egg to go with
I
that.
think I used it this year.
Yeah, that might be okay. I think this will be fine.
Now,
With this one.
it's probably more natural these days that the guys are cooking, but I would say that in the Ziegler family,
This is
that is a tradition that men learn a little bit about cooking,
A little earlier.
It's okay.
and so
Cut it.
I'll do it, you get your egg.
I would say
Stuff.
to you guys to not
I'm
depend
last
on
there,
somebody
so I
else
have
to do this for you, that you gotta pick up the tradition and be the prime movers in Hoppagrits and eggs.
Flip up all the edges on top of the.
That's the Mary Lou.
Okay, I
Mary
missed-
Lou part of
I
it.
missed that part.
No skirts. Yep. So Aunt Mary Lou, look. Take a look down here.
That bread is good now.
She says, I stopped doing that 30 years ago.
I used to, well, there's this one grocery store in Omaha that would always have fresh baked loaves of French bread sitting by like the checkout aisles. And I always insist that we got one of them and I'd eat half of it on the way home.
the way home.
I love just eating French bread.
Bread in general.
Your grandma Jean was a Rush, and the Rushes were German, but I don't think that her family picked up on the Hoppagrit.
They weren't farmers.
Initially, I am sure that
I turned the oven
Both.
off.
Thank you.
John Rush,
I don't smoke it.
Grandma Jeannie's father, and her mother Hazel Teeter grew up on farms in Iowa. So I just am not in tune with Iowa people, but I think
I have a
Teeter
lot of Iowa
Poor Brady
food.
has to eat.
was, or at least Rush was the German name. I don't know what Teeter is. Maybe English. But there is a Rush, R-U-S-C-H, pretty sure spelling, who was a signer on the Declaration of Independence. And I think
A little knowledge with your,
A little
your
knowledge of breakfast.
with your
grandma
recording.
Jean, she was in that line. Okay, we're on the verge of the flipping of the second set of eggs.
I think it should be sent to Food Network.
They might need to edit it down.
Here, a little bit.
We should probably get a picture
Oh, I said you should have one to put on Facebook.
Yeah.
Brady's gonna
Yeah,
try to get one of all
about
of
this?
us.
We'll get a picture of everybody today. Do you
Yeah, but
mean-
get one of the plates so you can present.
Oh,
this
you have to do that for
Patty
Patty,
Dennis.
especially.
Yes.
Yeah, Patty and Dennis. Okay.
Oh, wow. Did that hurt?
I just
Don't
No,
forget
it showed.
when you come up,
did a little.
yes, you'll get it good. Yeah.
Brady. Who can put that up like this? Ron did it one time. Do you remember?
It'll be fine. Oh, you mean move it up? Oh, don't do it now.
No,
You'll just watch.
Everybody's food.
What I will
He
do
has
when
a
I
hard
stand
day.
up is go this way, out that way, and up.
As long as you remember.
I'll take the salt. Generational, since Wendy probably was in her 20s sometime.
When you showed her how to
So
make
that was 30 years
What
ago.
are you talking about though?
The first
generational.
First
what?
moving down the generation as far
the
as.
vertical transmission of Hoppagrits knowledge.
That's right, because I transferred that to Wendy and then to Dan and then to Gary.
So my dad does know how to make them. He's just too lazy to do it himself.
Right. Yeah, he's
Right.
I'll sit here, Brady's
Why,
sitting.
why did he do it when he can get Gary
Right.
to do it?
Okay, Brady's gonna get a picture of all of us
My
at
mouth
the
is
table.
cold.
I'll wait.
We could cheer. We could do cheers with a piece of Hoppagrits.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
5 seconds. Do one more just in case.
Right. The action shot.
Right.
I can make some eggs. I think after that detailed how-to, I think I'm capable.
He's used to
of
being
that.
tested on things.
I'm alright, I don't.
Brady, would you want another egg?
I think I'll be okay. But continue on.
So Harry,
I guess I'm gonna be making 2 eggs then. Anna, would you like another egg?
No, thank you.
Oh, no, honey.
well, in celebration, Harry,
You have one.
I'll have,
You could just
You'll have
have
one? Okay.
because I won't need lunch.
Yeah, I know, right? This is.
You're so
I hope we don't need lunch.
Okay. You're having 3
Grandpa?
eggs and a glass of
I
cheese
think
all at
that-
the same time. The sugar's gonna.
I'm sorry, what?
I think the decaf we have for Nana was our last one.
Oh,
I
I'm
could,
sorry. I could have given it up.
no, I could run it again.
No,
Just heat it in the
you can
microwave.
do a regular one,
Okay.
because I'm eating enough to absorb some of that caffeine feeling.
Okay.
Sorry.
Grandpa's gonna be wired the rest of the day. 3 cups of coffee already.
He's always wired, can't you tell?
Yeah, man, let's go! One thing I don't think that Hoppagrits and eggs and coffee will do for me is to make it any easier to stand up from a sitting position.
You have to say, sorry, I had a huge Hoppagrit breakfast and I can't get up.
Okay, Grandpa, we have about 45 seconds left.
Oh no.
Okay. You have any last words?
That was all video recorded.
I think you save that for the empty plates. And just have all the 5
Oh my.
empty plates showing,
Okay.
and that will be the parting shot.
That's good. Well,
With
thank
that-
you for everything.
Thank you guys for going to the trouble of putting this
For Lindsay.
down for
And
history.
And Lindsay had to shop and get everything
No,
like
I
that.
didn't do much. You guys did all the work.
Our clean plates. Nana's still working now.
Nana talks too much.
So she's still having pleasure, and we're all grumpy now that it's gone.
Get as much pleasure out of it when it's cold.
Delicious breakfast.
Let me put it in the microwave.
Here's the Hoppagrits.